Hello and welcome, my dear students, to yet another session of Writing for Academic and Professional Success. We are dealing with Unit 7, that is Writing for Professional Purposes, Part 1. We have already completed the review section, that is book review, product review and film review. So, we are moving on to the next topic, that is case studies. Let me take a digression. There are after effects of the pandemic around us, the COVID crisis I mean. So let me remind you to have an ample intake of immunity boosters. What I mean is the medicinal herbs and spices. Have an ample amount of turmeric, ginger, lemon, garlic, cumin seeds, tulsi leaves, oregano, and take care of your health. Students, stay safe, stay home and stay healthy. We are all concerned about our students, your health, that is prime for us. So, let's pray for the whole world because we are going through a deep crisis, a severe crisis. So get serious about all these things and don't break the rules. My students should not break the rules. Nobody else should. But we don't know how people are, how their attitudes are. So students, let's get back to our classes. Before going through the learning objectives, let's get to know what are case studies. Well, what is a case study or what are case studies? Case study is a story, ഒരു കഥയാണ്. We are actually studying a case. We are studying a case. That is, this case study presents a real and complex situation. It involves a dilemma, a conflict or a problem. What is a dilemma? Dilemma, ധർമ്മസങ്കടമാണ്. You don't know what to do, how to go about something. എന്താ ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെന്ന് അറിയില്ല ആ അവസ്ഥ. Or a conflict. Conflict സംഘർഷാവസ്ഥയാണ്. Problem you all know, പ്രശ്നം. So a case study involves a dilemma, a conflict or a problem. Case studies are used in the field of medicine, law and business. Case study is an instructional strategy. Instructional strategy is a teaching strategy. That is, it has a lot of virtues. As a teaching strategy, that's a way of teaching. It has a lot of virtues. Virtues, good aspects. Mainly, it bridges the gap between theory and practice. Theory and practice, whatever you study in a textbook is a theory. What you read from a lesson, from the textbook or from a thesis, it is a theory. But when you actually go to a lab and do certain things, you have a hands-on experience, you understand things better. You are actually experiencing those things, what you've already read in your textbook. So theory and practice, theory and lab experiments. So when you experience those things, you understand things better, you can study things better. So that is why it has good aspects as a teaching strategy. Let me give you an example. We are considering the aerial spraying of the pesticide endosulfan in the district of Kasaragod. We generally know that there's a problem of endosulfan. People are suffering from the spraying. They have a lot of physical deformities, mental retardation, health issues, all those things we know. But when you delve deep into the subject, suppose you are considering a particular person from a particular family in Kasaragod, and you are examining or you are studying about their daily routine, the kind of medicine intake that they are following, the daily doses of medicine, the things that their parents have to be careful about. Suppose if the child has a disease or a physical deformity, so what are the things that the parents should be careful about, or the precautions that they're supposed to take so that their health doesn't deteriorate. So you're studying about those after effects in detail, you're delving into their life. So that is a case study. We know many general things, or we have a general idea, but when you study something into the depths, or when you delve into a particular person's life and studying their problem, that is a case study. Learning objectives of case study. So the first learning objective is to assess the problem comprehensively. What is comprehensively? Comprehensively means which includes all the aspects of that particular problem. So the first one is to assess the problem comprehensively. The second one is to organize the findings. What all you have found out, that you have to organize one by one, step by step. Second one, to organize the findings. Third one is to use the correct vocabulary. And as students of English, you should know how to use correct vocabulary. What are the uses of case studies? Let's see the uses one by one. The first one is that they can be used in teacher-based and discussion-based classes. Teacher-based, the teacher is lecturing, the students are listening. They don't have an active participation. They are not voicing out their opinions. What is discussion-based? That is, the teacher and students are having an interaction. They are discussing. They can voice their opinions and they are discussing things. Second one is that case studies are realistic. That is, they are drawn from real life experiences and circumstances of people. It is real. It is the experiences of people. Third one, it provides relevant data to the students. What is relevant? Relevant means connected to the current time. What you're doing currently, it is connected with that. Relevant data, relevant information. All the information that you require to go on with the case study is being provided to the students. The fourth one, to examine multiple aspects of a problem. A problem may have multiple aspects, and to examine the multiple aspects means you are studying each and every aspect of a problem. The fifth one is proposing a solution. That is, you're solving something. You're putting forward a solution. Along with that, you have to identify the parameters of a problem. Parameters means the limits of a problem. The limit means the extent you can go to. So, along with solving the problem, you are identifying the parameters or the limits of a problem. So, those are the uses of case study. Alright, I'll give you an example of online gaming. For example, PUBG game, you know, it's an online multiplayer game. You'll be knowing the details of this game. The players parachute on an island and using weapons they try to kill each other. So there are a lot of players addicted to this game. There's another game called Blue Whale Challenge also. It was banned. I'm discussing all these things so that you can understand things better. All these were controversial issues, and all these games had heated discussions in the social media handles, newspapers and all the other media. That's why I'm discussing all that, so that you will get an awareness about a case study. So what is the Blue Whale Challenge? It was a 50-day a game of 50-day period, and there were certain tasks assigned to the players, and ultimately they were asked to commit suicide. So it was not a good game. We know it was not at all a good game, and it was banned. And there's another online gaming called Rummy. People tend to get addicted to these kind of online gaming. So I selected this kind of example so that you'll be able to identify with a case study better. Earlier we discussed about the case study of endosulfan affected people. So now I'm discussing about online games so that you can understand things better. So with the help of this example, let's see how to lead a case-based discussion. That is on the procedure to lead a case-based discussion. First one, we are discussing the steps one by one. That's on the procedure to lead a case-based discussion. The first one is read and think about the case. That is, you should give ample amount of time to read about the case and think about the case. സമയം എടുത്ത് ഈ പ്രശ്നത്തെ പറ്റി ചിന്തിക്കുക. ഈ ഓൺലൈൻ ഗെയിമിങ്ങിനെ പറ്റിയിട്ട് ഒന്ന് ചിന്തിക്കുക. എങ്ങനെ ആൾക്കാരെ എഫക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ടു, എങ്ങനെ ആൾക്കാരെ അത് ബാധിച്ചു, എങ്ങനെ അവരുടെ ജീവിതത്തെ അത് മാറ്റിമറിച്ചു. സോ യു ഹാവ് ടു think deep into it. You should spend a lot of time studying or examining the details. So that's the first one. Read and think about the case. Negotiate a set of questions. You should ask a lot of questions. If it was this way, how will it be? Or like if it was in a different way, what will be the course of action, or what must have happened? So you should ask a lot of questions. By the way, what is negotiate? Negotiate is that you discuss so much about a particular thing and you reach to an agreement. You come to a conclusion or you have an agreement on it. That is negotiate. Discuss and reach an agreement. So you should negotiate on a lot of questions. Now when you negotiate, you should think about the problem the central character is facing. For example, if there's a person addicted to online gaming, the problems that the person faces, the degree of addiction, and how that person is losing interest in studies or in work. So all those problems you have to think about. The possible courses of action of that person, what will the person do, all those things. And also the potential obstacles. What are the potential obstacles? Obstacles, the blocks or hindrances, tadasangal, that you have to think about or negotiate. Now second one is get some guidelines. What is a guideline? Guideline is a rule or a principle. Now when you start discussing about a case study, you should break the steps or you should divide the points so that you can analyze all these things better. So you should break down the steps to analyze the case. Then you should identify the constraints of each character. What is constraints? That is restrictions. ഒരു character's പരിമിതികൾ നമ്മൾ ഐഡൻറ്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാം. So that's the first one. Second one is evaluate the decisions of each character. Decision, തീരുമാനം. ഒരു character's തീരുമാനം നമ്മൾ evaluate ചെയ്യുക, examine ചെയ്യാം. Third one and the final one is that explain what you would have done. If you were in that position, what you would have done, that also you should explain. The third one is work in groups. Now suppose it's a group activity, you should work in groups. You should make sure that everyone in the group is involved in the case-based discussion. Then you should designate roles within the group. ഓരോ ആൾക്കാർക്കും ഒരു റോൾ ഡെസിഗ്നേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കൊടുക്കണം. യു ഷുഡ് അസൈൻ എ റോൾ, യു ഷുഡ് ഡെസിഗ്നേറ്റ് എ റോൾ. ഡെസിഗ്നേഷൻ എന്നൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ വായിച്ചിട്ടില്ലേ, അത് യു ഷുഡ് അസൈൻ റോൾസ് ടു എവ്രി വൺ ഇൻ ദ ഗ്രൂപ്പ്. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ എ ലീഡർ, എൻ അസിസ്റ്റൻറ്റ് ലീഡർ, കോർഡിനേറ്റർ, a writer, a proofreader, editor. That way you can assign roles. But then a general structure should be followed. Though there are many people participating, a general structure should be follow. So that's the third one. Fourth one is you should present the solutions and also the reason. Solution, how you have solved it, or the conclusion, and also reasoning. You must have heard about logical reasoning, isn't it? Logical reasoning is thinking in a sensible way. So here you have to reason out your conclusion or reason out your solution. Now the fifth one is you should probe for deep analysis. You know what is analysis? You're studying something. When you probe for deep analysis, it means that you have to investigate. Investigation story ഒക്കെ നമ്മൾ കണ്ടിട്ടില്ലേ, മൂവീസ് ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേഷൻ ആണെന്നൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ പറയും. So investigate means you examine in detail. So you have to probe or investigate into the case for deep analysis. And here when you probe for deep analysis, participants can make assumptions. That is, they can assume things. ഇങ്ങനെയാവാം അങ്ങനെയാവാം നമ്മൾ assume ചെയ്യില്ലേ, അനുമാനങ്ങൾ. That participants can do. Participants can assume things or they can make assumptions, and also they should substantiate these assumptions. Substantiate means prove that it is correct. Whenever they make assumptions, they should try to prove that whatever they have said is correct. തെളിയിക്കണം. Along with that, they can provide illustrations also. Illustrations, we have already studied that it is examples. So you have to provide illustrations, that is, you have to provide examples, so that everybody in the group get a clear idea about the things. They have clarity about the things or the steps or the points being discussed. Sixth one is synthesize the issue. What is synthesize or synthesizing? Synthesizing means that you're combining all the aspects, all the ideas, all the resources and making something new out of it. That is synthesizing. So the sixth one is synthesizing the issue. In page number 195, there's an exercise meant for you, that is match the topics with the case studies. So let's discuss that. The first topic is methods of teaching dyslexic children. Dyslexic children means പഠന വൈകല്യമുള്ള കുട്ടികൾ, children suffering from learning disabilities or learning difficulties. So the answer is an experimental approach to reading difficulties with underrates in Singapore. So in Singapore, an experimental approach was employed, and they selected a group of children under the age of 8 years old, and they employed a new approach to the reading difficulties. വായിക്കാനുള്ള ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുകളുള്ള കുട്ടികൾക്ക് they employed a new experimental approach, and that was a case study. Second one, the topic is increasing crop yields in semi-deserts. Crop yield, when you harvest, the yield you get, vila. So in semi-desert, padi desert, how to increase the crop yields in semi-deserts, that's a topic. And the case study is using solar power to operate irrigation pumps in Oman. So in Oman, they used solar power, energy from the sun, to operate or to function irrigation pumps. For irrigation, they used solar power, and that was a case study that occurred in Oman, that happened in Oman. Third one is reducing infant mortality. To reduce the infant mortality, the case study was a program to cut smoking by pregnant women in a Greek clinic. So in a hospital or in a clinic in Greece, what they did is they implemented a program so that they can minimize or cut short or reduce the habit of smoking in pregnant women, and the result they got to so that they can reduce the infant mortality. The fourth one is building earthquake resistant bridge, a bridge that resists earthquakes. And the case study is the lessons from Chile, how 3 structures withstood the 2010 earthquake. 3 structures, 3 constructions that survived. Withstood means that survived the 2010 earthquake. Even though there was earthquake, it did not get demolished. The 3 structures or 3 constructions survived the earthquake. The 5th one is dealing with reoffending among prisoners. Reoffending, what is an offense, by the way? Offense is a crime or an illegal activity. So reoffending means that you commit a crime for the second time or you repeat the crime. That is reoffending. So when prisoners come out of jail, why are they doing the activity of reoffending, or why are they committing a crime again? So you have to study about that topic. And the case study is working and learning how a Brazilian scheme encouraged convicts to stay out of jail. So in Brazil, there was a scheme that was implemented, and that scheme encouraged the convicts, convicts, to stay out of jail. So they were encouraged to stay out of jail, to not go back to jail and to stay outside. And the working and learning was probed in a deep analysis as a case study. The last one is improving recycling rates in large cities. You know what is recycling? And the case study is the Berlin experiment, increasing public participation in collecting and sorting waste. So in Berlin, there was an experiment that was conducted, and they encouraged the public participation, or they tried to increase the public participation in collecting and sorting waste. Sorting, tarandirikya. So that is the exercise that you have to do in your book. There is a model case study given in your textbook, and the topic is this: adapting international brands to local markets. The case study is the experience of IKEA, rather IKEA, in China. For your knowledge, IKEA or IKEA is a Swedish furniture company. It was one of the international companies to move into China. This case study elaborates on marketing IKEA in China, what IKEA did to adapt to the Chinese market, and the problems and challenges the company faced in the Chinese market. The different sections are introduction, marketing, the price or the income, and finally the discussion and conclusion. Questions are given at the end of the case study, so try to answer them. Here we come to the end of the video on case study. Happy learning and good day.